Control, a word that feels safe, structured, and powerful. We all want to feel in control of our lives, our choices, and our future. But what happens when the desire for control turns into obsession? What happens when the mechanisms of power use control not to protect us, but to confine us? The truth is, control has two faces, one that gives us direction, and one that steals our freedom without us noticing. From childhood, society teaches us about control. Parents control children for their own good. Schools control behavior to create discipline. Governments control populations to maintain order. Companies control workers to achieve efficiency. At first glance, all of this seems necessary, even beneficial. But beneath the surface lies a darker truth. The more control we accept, the less freedom we truly have. Think about it. Every rule, every system, every policy is designed to limit behavior. And while some limitations keep society from collapsing into chaos, others are designed to create compliance, submission, and dependence. The line between protection and manipulation is thinner than we think. Control doesn't just come from authority, it comes from within. We control ourselves by conforming to expectations. We silence our voices because we don't want to be judged. We shrink our dreams because they don't fit the approved path. Control is not just imposed, internalized. And this is where the real danger begins. When control becomes invisible, when it blends into everyday life so seamlessly that we stop questioning it, it no longer needs to enforce itself with violence. We enforce it for them. We police our own thoughts, our own actions, our own possibilities. History is filled with examples. Empires rose and fell on control. Dictators ruled entire nations not only through armies but through fear, propaganda, and surveillance. The most successful regimes were not the ones that used brute force endlessly, but the ones that convinced people that control was for their own good. The people became their own jailers. But let's zoom into the personal level. How often do you control yourself in ways that are not healthy? You want to speak up, but you hold back. You want to take a risk, but you hesitate. You want to live authentically, but you shrink yourself to fit in. Every time you do this, you reinforce invisible chains. Chains that others put on you long ago, but now you maintain on your own. This is the paradox of control. The more you try to control your environment, the more controlled you become. You build walls to feel safe, but those same walls become your prison. You create routines to feel secure, but those routines slowly strip away your freedom. What was once a tool becomes a trap, and yet control seduces us. It whispers promises of safety, predictability, and peace. But in reality, control doesn't erase chaos, it hides it. It doesn't eliminate uncertainty, it blinds us to it. The world is unpredictable, and no amount of control can fully protect us from it. Pretending otherwise is the beginning of self-deception. Let's face a difficult truth. Control is an illusion. We never truly control life. We only manage perceptions, probabilities, and responses. The desire to control everything is nothing more than fear dressed up in authority. And fear, once it becomes the foundation of control, is the silent architect of prisons. But here's the question that changes everything. If control imprisons us, then what sets us free? The answer is awareness. The moment you become aware of the mechanisms of control, both external and internal, you begin to see the cracks in the system. You begin to realize that the cage is not as solid as it seemed. Freedom doesn't come from rejecting all rules or living in total chaos. It comes from choosing consciously which structures serve you, and which ones enslave you. It comes from breaking the chains of self-imposed control and reclaiming the right to live on your own terms. So, pause for a moment, look around at your life. How many choices do you make because you want to, and how many because you feel you have to? How many dreams have you abandoned because it's not realistic? How many times have you silenced yourself because it's not appropriate? Each one of those is a thread in the web of control. And the first step to breaking free is to notice them. Imagine what your life could look like without invisible chains. Imagine waking up and making choices, not out of fear, but out of desire. Imagine pursuing a dream without the weight of what will people think. Imagine speaking your truth without rehearsing it to make it more acceptable. That's freedom. That's authenticity. That's life beyond control. But freedom is not easy. It demands responsibility. Because once you stop blaming control for your limitations, the weight falls back on you. Suddenly you can no longer say, I can't because of them. You have to face the truth. Sometimes it's not them, it's you. And that realization is terrifying, but it's also liberating. Control thrives on ignorance. Awareness shatters it. The moment you stop seeing rules as unshakable, you start realizing they were agreements all along. Agreements that can be broken, renegotiated, or refused. Society tells you what's acceptable, but you get to decide what's possible. The ones who change the world are never the ones who obey control completely. They are the ones who dared to ask, why? They are the ones who broke the script, who stepped outside the limits, who refused to live in cages. And history doesn't just remember them, it's built on them. But here's the twist. Sometimes, control is so ingrained that rebellion looks impossible. That's when small acts of awareness matter the most. You don't have to break the system overnight. You just need to take back one choice at a time. Every time you choose desire over fear, authenticity over conformity, freedom over silence, you weaken the grip of control. Now, think about your daily life again. How many hours do you give away to routines you hate? How many decisions do you make to satisfy others rather than yourself? How much of your voice remains unspoken? And most importantly, what would happen if, just once, you did the opposite? Chaos wouldn't destroy you. In fact, it might just set you free. The world convinces you that control equals safety, but real safety comes from adaptability. The ability to face uncertainty without collapsing, the strength to survive without depending on chains. That is where freedom begins, not in eliminating risk, but in embracing it with courage. If you truly want to live, you must learn to dance with uncertainty. Control builds walls, freedom builds wings. The choice between them is not easy, but it is yours. So the next time you catch yourself holding back, ask, am I protecting myself, or am I imprisoning myself? The line is thin, but your awareness is the difference. And remember this. Those who benefit from your silence, your compliance, your fear, they will never hand you freedom. You must claim it, you must choose it, you must live it. Because control will always exist. The question is not whether you can escape it completely. The question is whether you will let it define you, or whether you will define yourself in spite of it. If this made you question the hidden structures of control in your life, don't just stop here. Break free from passive scrolling. Take a moment to reflect, to question, to decide what you truly want to control and what no longer deserves power over you. And if you want to keep exploring the hidden forces that shape your mind, subscribe to the channel. Together, we'll uncover the truths that most people are too afraid to face.